What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review for AEW Double or Nothing. Holy fuck, what a show this was. So many amazing matches. My man, the myth, the legend, the best in the world, CM Punk, is once again world champion. I could not be happier. Y'all know me. Punk is one of my favorite wrestlers, and I'm so happy to see him once again holding the gold and being world champion again. Hopefully this time his reign won't be defeated by The Rock, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But I do wonder Punk's reigns if AEW is gonna do the whole thing with Punk where they're gonna have him like keep the title for like a year plus, like he did with WWE or not, or maybe they're gonna give him a little shorter reign. I wouldn't be surprised because he isn't a spring chicken anymore. Punk is getting up there in age. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't keep that. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't keep the belt that long. But either way, man, I'm hyped. So glad to see Punk champion. Jesus Christ, the fucking Armageddon, fucking whatever the fuck that match was called with with Chris Jericho and John Moxley. Jesus fucking Christ. Absolute madness, man. Absolute madness. A lot of amazing matches here, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, without further ado, let's just jump right in. Also, one thing I want to talk about real quick before we jump right into the actual show is that I love for the graphics for this time, and I don't know if AEW is going to keep this up, is that they actually brought back the moving again, which when I saw that on Dynamite, I believe it was this week, I saw it might have been also last week as well. When I actually saw the graphic Dynamite for Double or Nothing, they actually had them moving a bit. I got really hyped for that one because you guys remember WWE used to do that all the time back in during the Ruthless Aggression era, all the way up to 2011. They were still doing it around the time when I first started watching WWE, so it was cool to see them again, having them move again. Not all of them were moving, but but for the bigger matches, they did get moved, and it was really cool to see that because it reminded me back to the good old days of WWE when they were actually good. So that was pretty cool. I kind of hope AEW keeps it up because I think it looks pretty cool. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of cool. They're actually moving now. Like I said, I don't know if WWE's going to keep that, or WWE, if AEW is going to keep that up for going forward, or that maybe just something they were trying to experiment with Double or Nothing, and they might end up just going back to the normal stills completely again following this. But either way, man, I'm hyped and I really like that. I thought that was really cool to see them moving again because we don't see that anymore. So that was cool to see. Anyway, now let's just jump right into the actual show. So first off, we had MJF and Wardlow to start the show. Ballsy move starting the show, but it kind of makes sense why Tony Khan did this because, as you guys know, most likely there was reports coming out in the last couple of days that MJF no-show the fan festival yesterday. There's apparently been some other shit that's been going around. I haven't completely been keeping up with what's going on. I just kind of know a basic thing. I've yet to watch JD's Day where he kind of talks about this. Hopefully I'll watch it tomorrow or something. But yeah, a lot of shit's been going on with MJF, wondering about him walking out, wondering if he wants to leave AEW, wants to be released from AEW and go over to WWE for whatever reason. Whatever the case may be. And there was obviously worries and rumors of and people wondering if this match was even going to happen or if this match was going to get canceled because MJF already leaving Vegas and getting a plane ticket and all that. So, but he did eventually show up, and it makes sense that he would put this first, just so the elephant in the room isn't looming. Everyone is like, "Yo, is the match actually going to happen?" Get out there so people can actually enjoy the rest of the show without having to worry about this match was actually going to happen. Now. Then the match happened, and it was basically it was a glorified squash match for Wardlow, man. Now, I am of the opinion, I agree with Jay with this, that this isn't the original match we were originally. I still think Wardlow was going to win the match regardless, but I do think it probably won that this match was kind of booked this way to punish MJF to be like, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm your boss," from Tony Khan. I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't the original plan for the match because I could see it. This could have been the original plan, just given how this feud had been booked. But at the same time, I can also see this was supposed to be a much more close match rather than how it was ended up being portrayed here, where it starts out the match. Well, of course, MJ makes his way to the arena in his Ric Flair-esque robe, comes in there, and first thing he does is he starts pretending he's a plane because obviously the rumors because we the reports. So then Wardlow makes his entrance in. And after that, MJ basically spends like, I don't know, 5 minutes or however long it was, going in, playing like tag with Wardlow, going out of the ring, in the ring, trying to just run away from him. But eventually Wardlow gets in the ring. They have a little small back and forth. Eventually eventually Wardlow goes for a powerbomb, but MJF ends up like biting him and they keep going at it. And eventually MJF starts feigning a knee injury. He's like, and the crowd, my God, this man had some nuclear heat tonight, man. Probably due to the reports that were coming out after this, that were coming out yesterday and so forth. But everyone's like, they were trying bullshit, and whatever. And also he showed up. That was very funny. So MJF, as he's fading, while he's like faking injury, he pulls out the dynamite diamond ring out of his trunks, puts it on his pinky, and he's prepared. But if you were paying attention to the background, you could see Wardlow and the ref were both looking down at him, no one being like, really, nigga? You know? And so the ref just comes in there, grabs the diamond ring, and pulls it off his finger before he pockets it and taps him on the shoulder a couple times. And of course, Wardlow takes him to Powerbomb City. I swear to God, this is going to become the new Suplex City. There's a Powerbomb City, or whatever the fuck they're calling it. Wardlow City, whatever their name's gonna call it. Because this man's like hit like 10 or honestly felt like 30 power bombs in a row to MJF, man. It was just like one after another, after another, after another. It was insane, man. And that is how, and of course, when Wardlow would win the match. Now, overall, me personally, I love the match. I thought it was a great start opening to the show, and I had a blast watching it, man. Now, obviously, where does this leave for MJF? Is he actually going to get released because of the media scrum, apparently? Tony Khan was refusing to ask any questions relating to MJF. So I have a feeling that this is mostly just going to keep him off TV for a while, and they're probably going to end up behind the scenes. Tony Khan and Ward and MJF are going to talk things out. Hopefully, maybe come to some sort of agreement on whatever is bugging MJF, whether it is creative, maybe it's money, or whatever the fuck is bugging him on why he's acting this way. Or maybe it just ends. This is his last match in AEW, and we'll see him on Raw fucking tomorrow. Or today, I guess, because I'm recording this at midnight. It's almost 1 in the morning. Hopefully, I can get this review done before it's like 3 a.m. or something. But yeah, man. So we'll have to wait and see in the coming weeks what's going to happen with MJF and whether or not he's going to stay with AEW. But overall, for the match itself, man, I had a fun time and it was really enjoyable. So then we had the Hardys versus the Young Bucks. This match was awesome, man. I loved this match. I'm pretty sure this is the first time these two go in. I think they went at it a couple times, maybe like in like Ring of Honor or maybe even New Japan or something. But either way, man, this match was awesome, and I was thoroughly entertained with this. First off, we started with the older brothers, with Matt Hardy and Matt Jackson, I believe, started the match up, and they started off with Matt doing the delete, and then you had they're both called Matt. Jesus. Matt Jackson does. I don't know. He's like put like 3 fingers in like Matt Hardy's face. I have no idea. This is probably some shit from PTE from being the elite or something. But he was like doing that, and then Matt Hardy would like poke at him, then do delete, and they did this for a while. And then before they started going at it, eventually they would tag out, and we would have the younger brothers Jeff and Nick going at it. They would have their back and forth. Eventually, they would get them both out of the ring, and then both Matt and Nick would be doing the flexing thing. The Young Bucks always did, because before that the Young Bucks were doing the Hardys, fucking air arm. I don't know what the fuck do you call that? What Jeff does where it's with his arms out. I don't know if his guy named it, but it was like doing that or whatever. And then actually, when Nick gets back into the ring, he like slips. His foot gets caught on the second rope, which I don't know if that was supposed to happen in the match, or if maybe his foot legit just got caught. I don't know, but it was pretty funny. But eventually, they keep going at it. Weirdly, Jeff's boot like gets undone midway through the match, and it like never gets fixed. He like never fixes it, which I thought was kind of strange. Another thing is where Matt at the round started match with Matt and where the Mats, I'll just call them the Mats, were going at it. They were having a little back and forth. Matt Hardy kind of like gets up like to a knee, and then Matt Jackson's like right in front of his face, tapping his wrist, be like, "I'm faster than you, old man." That was pretty good. For some ungodly reason, you had Jeff Hardy hitting a swanton bomb, and I believe it was Nick off some steel steps. Nick was like on the steel steps, Jeff does a swanton, and that was insane. You had Matt doing like those delete. I don't know when he starts throwing his opponent's head against the turnbuckles, and he does everyone's just saying delete, delete, delete. He was doing that, he did this 2 different turnbuckles. You had Matt and Jeff doing that little platform thing that they used to do, where Jeff like launches off Matt's back. They did that. They did this once, and it got countered by the Young Bucks. I think the second time they actually got it. When they got the counter, it looked really fucking good, man. So anyway, after they eventually keep going out, there was a lot of near falls. So many times where I thought the match was over, and yeah, this match was awesome, man. Eventually, we would end the match off with Matt. Like, oh yeah, Matt hits like a side effect on, I believe it was Matt. Why they both got me named Matt? When Matt Hardy hits a side effect on Matt Jackson and like on like the apron, that looked really nasty, man. And so after Jeff hits the Swanton Bomb on Nick, which actually when when after they like got Nick up on the steel steps and Jeff was going up on the turn goes up to the top rope, I could practically hear JR say like, "No, don't do it, Jeff. Think of your family." He didn't actually say any of that on commentary, but I was just thinking, but that was just running through my head when Jeff was getting up there. It's like, no, don't do it, Jeff. Think of your family. Gotta love JR, man. Gotta love him. Anyway, Matt ends up hitting like a twist of fate. This, I thought this is where the match was gonna end. Near fall. I was shocked by this. They kept going at it. Eventually, he hits like another twist of fate. Then he tags Jeff and he does a swanton on Matt, and that ends up getting the 1, 2, 3. And for some reason, right after the match ends, Matt or Jeff just runs right into the crowd and just starts high fiving everyone in the crowd. Don't know what that was about, but whatever. Either way, man, phenomenal match, great tag team match, and yeah, another amazing match start show. Then we had the TBS Championship between um, Anna Jay and Jade Anna Jay and Jade Cargill. This match was really good. This one was a pretty good match. I would probably say this is one of the weaker matches we had on the card, but still a solid match. Obviously, as you guys know, the best part of this match wasn't even in the match. It was what happened after the match. But the match starts off, yeah, Jade Cargill doing basically doing kip ups after every other move she does, which was interesting. And then they eventually, she was doing that. Like, you also had Jade like going up to the top rope, and then she was like, no. Then before going back to Anna Jay, Anna Jay was breaking out some of Cora's finishers. Eventually, Smart Mark Sterling comes in there trying to distract the ref. He brings in a crutch and manages to sneak in there. Anna Jay ends up using the crutch against Jade Cargill. This gets a near fall too, but then John Silver comes in there to take care of Sterling, and then they keep going at it. Jade ends up hitting the Eye of the Storm, quick 2 count. Anna puts on a sleeper hold, which Jade managed to get out of. They're up on the top rope. They're going at it, and then my man Malcolm Bivens shows up. He comes down the ramp. They're meant to like, oh, we haven't seen him since 2017, which was I found kind of weird because. Now maybe he's been on it. Maybe he was signed by WWE 2017, but I'm like, we didn't start seeing him in NXT since till 2019. So I don't know what Alex Excalibur was saying, which is we haven't seen him. We haven't seen Malcolm Bivens. Or like I know they weren't calling him Malcolm Bivens for obvious reasons, but I forget what his actual name is. But anyway, either way, I'm probably gonna keep calling him Malcolm Bivens anyway. But Malcolm Bivens is 2017. So yeah, maybe he was signed by NXT and he was just waiting around for a couple of years. But I'm pretty sure we didn't end up actually starting to see Malcolm Bivens on TV on NXT till 2019, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong on that. Correct if I'm wrong in the comments. But I'm pretty sure we didn't see him till then. But I could be wrong. He was around the other places and I just don't remember. But yeah, he comes in there. He distracts Anna Jay. I'm assuming these two had some history on the Indies before Malcolm Bivens got signed to WWE for NXT. So at least what I'm assuming that's what happened. But yeah, eventually Cora Jade hits the Jaden, I believe is what the move called, off the second rope. Avalanche Jaden for the 1, 2, 3. You also had like some for cronies like Red Velvet and this other chick. They're called like the baddies. I mentioned this in my review before, but I've been kind of out of the loop with AEW storylines recently because I haven't really been watching the show as much because school and everything, so I haven't really been paying as much attention as I usually am. So apologies, I'm not like completely in the loop for live storylines. Like I said, I've been watching. I haven't been paying attention as much to AEW as I used to because of school and everything, and I can't really focus all my time watching because I'm usually working on homework and other shit by that point. Either way. They also came and did some distractions, but eventually Jay won the match. They of course start beating down on on Anna Jay, and then eventually, of course, my girl. First off, Chris Statlander appears, but then, of course, my girl Ember Moon shows up. My girl Ember finally makes her travel return. She's on AEW finally. She's going by Athena now, which badass name goes with the whole war goddess thing. But I'm no lie, I'm probably gonna keep calling her Ember Moon anyway, just because that's what I'm used to calling her. But yeah, Ember's back. She looks great. I kind of wish she was still rocking like the like sunset type or reddish orange kind of color, but this time it was just straight up purple. It looked great. I'm just glad to see Ember's back on TV, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what she's gonna be doing in AEW. It looks like this, like low key, the way this was shaping up, you thought they were setting up war games or something with this, and of course Malcolm Bivens was getting in between them and everything, man. Great shit. This was awesome, man. So yeah, both Malcolm Bivens and Amber Moon are now both on AEW, and I couldn't be happier, man. So then next up we have the House of Black versus the Death Triangle, and this match was fucking awesome. So the match started off fast and furious with Malachi Black and Ray Phoenix going in. Also, during their entrances, during Death Triangle's entrance, there was a kid with them that was dressed as Pentagon. I assume that's Penta's kid. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, there was a kid there as well. But anyway, they started out, they were going at it, doing their things. Penta does that like reverse 619 thing he does to like get the momentum before he does like that back kick he does. He ended up missing it, and then like they were like, and then Malachi was doing a bunch of kicks, and Ray ends up getting landing on the ground before he like does the cross-legged thing that Malachi does, and Malachi sit down. They were both just staring at each other. That was pretty cool. They go at it. There's a bunch of other crazy shit. You had the Lucha Bros doing fucking tope to the top rope. Then you had everybody doing goddamn like suicide dives and topes at one point, including the big man Malachi King or whatever the big guy's name is. Brody King, that's his name, Brody King. Like, and it goes well as back to thinking is a guy that man size trying to do a tope. He barely got any air time. He like barely didn't get much. He didn't get very far. He kind of like hit the apron while on his way down. And what is it else you expect from a man that size trying to do that, man? He ain't Keith Lee, that's for damn sure. But yeah, they going at it. You had Buddy Murphy and Pentagon going at it. They were doing Penta was doing the El Cerro Miedo. That one over. That always gets me a pop, and I always love that shit. Anyway, we ended up ending the match off with Pentagon with Pac and Malachi in the ring. They were the last competitors after Death Triangle did a bunch of super kicks on Malachi. Pac gets up there to go for the Black Arrow, but the lights turned out. Then Julia Hart. Honestly, guys, I have no idea who the fuck this woman is. This was like that one match where I'm like, yeah, I have really been out of the loop with AEW because I'm like, who the hell are you? Did not know she like fires this black mist over at Pac that blinds him obviously, and Malachi uses that to go and of course get the victory. So I guess Julia Hart is now a member of the House of Black, I assume. Is she related to like Brett or any of the other? Is she a part of the Hart family by chance? Because I heard her name and I'm like, is she related to like Brett or anything? Just out of curiosity, man. But yeah, this was an awesome match. So much crazy shit, man. And yeah, I always love watching the Lucha Bros work, man. They're fucking amazing. I love those guys. And then next up was Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole. This was obviously the final for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. This match was, of course, fucking phenomenal, man. But one thing that was interesting is that on commentary they mentioned this is the first time Adam Cole and Samoa Joe have ever faced, which I find that extremely hard to believe. You're telling me that not once in their time in NXT or in ROH, they never once faced them. Now, maybe that's true. Crazier shit has happened in the world of professional wrestling. But I find that extremely hard to believe. Maybe it is true if you guys know for certain. Tell me in the comments if it is actually true. They have never faced off in ROH or NXT. But I just find that crazy regardless. Also, Adam Cole was wearing pink, was wearing like Owen Hart inspired gear with like pink on it. That was pretty cool. But yeah, the match starts off. Samoa Joe was more on the offensive, where he was getting a lot of devastating clotheslines, chops, getting his jab, like did like a jabs in the corner on Adam Cole. Adam Cole was obviously trying to go after the injured shoulder, which we saw him like when they were like in the corner on the start at around the beginning of the match, where the ref's like, "Hey," where Mike Chioda, the senior official, was roughing this match, was like, "Hey, break it up," and then like he manages to kind of get out there, but then Adam Cole just grabs his arm and starts trying to pull at it. Joe manages to get out there. This would happen a couple more times in the match before the shoulder would get re-injured. But anyway, they will continue on. They will eventually go out to the outside. Joe had Adam Cole sit in his chair, and he like went like on the other side of the barricade, or where the other end of where the barricade was, the other end of the ring, and like he was like making sure his shot looked good and everything. I'm like, yo, bro, prepare Adam Cole's eulogy right now. But Adam Cole ends up managing to counter the attack and throwing him into the pole, re-injuring his shoulder, and that's when Adam Cole would really start to attack the injured shoulder of Samoa Joe, which we've seen, where we see it starting to weaken him later on. The match progresses. You eventually had Adam Cole lock in the lapel lock, but Joe manages to get to the ropes. Then Joe locks in the STFU, trying to move the submission to get his arms away, but his foot still manages to hit the bottom rope, making the hold break, man. So much insane shit. Eventually, Bobby Fish would get involved into the match, could give the quick distraction, but Joe would take quick care of him. Eventually, Adam Cole would hit in the last shot. I don't know why they're calling it the boom now. Does WWE have the last? I know I mentioned this before, for Revolution, my review for Revolution, but I gotta ask again. Does WWE have the last shot copyrighted and trademarked? Why are they calling the last shot the boom? It's the last shot. Call it the last shot. That's what it is. But whatever, that's just me. He ends up hitting the last shot for 1, 2, 3. Phenomenal match, man. Excellent way to end this tournament off, and yeah, that was cool. Next up, we had the women's, the finals for the women's Owen Hart tournament between Ruby Soho and, of course, Britt Baker. DMD. This match was also really good. Definitely nowhere near as good as Samoa Joe and Adam Cole, but this was also really enjoyable, a really good match. They actually had like live performances for their entrances for both Britt Baker and Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho had, I guess, the band that does her theme come out there and do her entrance. While for Britt Baker, they had the guitarist from Fozzy. I only know this because JD mentioned this. Otherwise, I would have no idea what the hell this guy is. But a dude playing the theme for her music. I don't know if he actually did the theme for her actually music, or they just got her because, hey, Chris. But yeah, definitely Ruby, definitely upstage Britt Baker with that one, with that live performance that she got. They go at it, man. Eventually with like Ruby grabs onto Britt's wrist, like she's like death gripping it, making sure she'll get away. Eventually Britt manages to break free. They go at it. Eventually, Ruby's risen to becoming the focus for Britt Baker of the match. And Ruby sells this shit like she has a fucking chest burster inside her, man. Or she's like dealing with contractions or something. With the way she was selling her stuff with her ribs, she was like always grabbing her stuff, man. You thought this woman had a chest burster inside her, just waiting to pop out of her ribs. Oh man. But they eventually going on, like you had them get on top, and then Ruby Britt pulls Ruby into the post. That's when the ribs started to get injured. When they're on the top rope, Ruby just Britt just yeets her off the top rope, belly first onto the mat. Man, that had to suck. Ruby also eventually hits a superplex on Britt Baker, which she once again starts selling the ribs again. And then eventually we end the match off with Ruby getting a roll up before then Britt counters the roll up, and then eventually gets the 1, 2, 3. Now, solid match overall, but I will say Ruby should have won this match. I get it why they did this, and also because Britt was also wearing pink gear for obviously Owen, and it obviously matches, and of course, Adam Cole and Britt Baker, power couple, and all this. And definitely would have been awkward if Adam Cole won, and then you had Ruby on the other end. It would have been awkward when they're just looking at each other. So I get why they went with Britt Baker, but I do think that this was her match, and this should have been her moment, and she should have been the one victory. It's not like Britt needs the title. She doesn't need the extra belt and the other accolades. I do think this should have been Ruby Soho's moment, and I do think this is where she should have won the match. That's just me personally. And then after, I believe it was after this is when we actually get the actual trophy ceremony with Owen Hart's wife coming in there, Martha. Martha! Sorry, I had to throw in my BBS reference. I had to throw it in there. But she comes in there, she says her piece, man, of course, which I will say this was really a nice moment. I like this one, especially given, what happened to her from when we saw her in Dark Side of the Ring and how this woman just basically just despised wrestling and, wrestling fans, everything because of what happened to her husband, understandably so. So it's nice to see that Tony Khan is able to, been able to restore her faith in wrestling again. Of course, she's now open to do this partnership and do the tournament, and Tony Khan confirms this is going to be an annual thing, so that's nice to see, man. It's nice that wrestling fans finally have a way to where they can honor Owen Hart, and Martha is very happy with how they scored hand down and everything, and of course to continue making fun. So it's a win-win all around, man. It was a really good moment, and I like that. So yeah, they present them the trophy, they present them the cup, they present them with title belts too, because Adam Cole apparently doesn't have enough of those. Clearly, they say Kenny Omega's the belt collector. Nah, Adam Cole's the belt collector at this rate. All the goddamn championships he probably has on his wall by now, man. NXT, fucking Ring of Honor most likely, and now AEW. Now add this to his belt wall. Oh, excuse me, strap. Excuse me, JR. I'm sorry. I meant to say strap because it was legit. JR was correcting. I think it was Tony. It might be Excalibur. They were calling it a belt, and JR's like, oh, it's a strap. It's a strap. Like, we get it, JR, you're old. But, yeah, man, this was a good moment. This was nice. And then after this, we had the 6-man tag match between Sammy G, Ty Conti, and Frankie Kazarian. Which actually, into a funny story, Ty Conti actually came out dressed up as Maleficent, which I thought was pretty funny. So they came down to the ring. Sammy spent basically the entire match just showboating, showing off to Ty Conti, and that was basically what they were. Well, Frankie Kazarian is like, but anyway, so as they're going at it, so as they're going at it, eventually it was like Frankie and slipping on his name for some reason. Scorpio Sky. I'm slipping on his name for some reason. Scorpio Sky, they were going up, and then Sammy, it's like the blind tag in there, then Ethan Page gets the tag in there, and then Ethan Page starts beating on Sammy, saying, I've been waiting for this! Ah! Screaming. They go back, they all just do crazy. Like I said, Sammy is always trying to showboat whenever he can. Which eventually ends up biting him in the ass because eventually, eventually there was the match starts to break apart where Ty Conti comes in for when Scorpio was crawling over to tagging Paige. Ty comes in there, marches over to Paige and just punches her, just gets a cheap shot in on her before going back out there. And then Sammy is out there with her, carrying her. She's like, "Oh, you're so amazing." While Frankie is trying to get the guy, he's like, "Hey, you son of a bitch! I'm trying to he's trying to tag out there," but he isn't listening, and they going back and forth. Eventually, Sammy and Ty both get cornered by Scorpio and Ethan Page and America Top Team. So, and then they're begging Frankie, come in and help us. Frankie gets into the ring, then instantly walks out. So it was pretty funny. Eventually the match continues on. Frankie gets in there. He hits an RKO on Scorpio Sky to get him in the ring because Ty or Paige ends up tagging out, and so obviously the men have to get in there. So that happened. Then of course you had Paige fighting off with Ty. Going again, and then Sammy breaks them up, and she's like, "Oh no, don't worry." And they're kissing and everything, and then she starts, and then then Sammy and Paige have a little back and forth. She gets him into the corner, and then Ty's like, "Hey, keep your hands off your man!" And then she trips her, and she falls head first into his nuts. So that was pretty fun. And then we eventually end the match off with then Sammy super kicking Ty Conti. And the look on his face, the sheer horror of super kicking his girlfriend. But eventually Scorpio Sky gets the TKO to win the match for the 1-2-3. This was definitely probably one of the weaker matches on the card, but it was still a very entertaining match, and I had a lot of fun watching. Also, by the way, the new TNT Championship with the purple and gold, Hot damn, is it sexy? Love that new color they got. Although I'm kind of wondering why they're. Although I gotta ask, how many more times are they gonna switch the colors in the TNT Championship? We've gone through like 4 different versions of this title already, and the championship's only been around for like 2 years. So, how many more times are we? How many more revisions this championship is gonna get before they finally stick to something for more than like 6 months? Just asking, because the first time, obviously the first time it was unfinished. The second time was obviously because of Brody Lee. But now but now I'm just wondering why they keep reshuffling the concept. I mean, like I said, it looks good, it looks sexy, but I wonder if they're gonna redesign it to get another 6 months. This one's actually gonna be the one that sticks for at least a little bit. I guess I'll have to wait and see on that. But anyway, guys, next up was Kyle O'Reilly and Darby Allin. This was also a really, really good match. I really enjoyed this one. We started this off with Darby going after Kyle's knees. They continue on. They eventually go to the outside. Darby goes for a suicide dive and literally completely misses Kyle. He like really undershot it and basically just went face first right into the onto the floor, man. Looked pretty nasty. Then they like get to the other side of the ring, and Darby tries it again for whatever, because this man is fucking insane. Darby goes and does another suicide. This time he actually hits it, but Kyle manages to counter it into a guillotine, man. So that was pretty cool. That one was a pretty cool counter. They continue on in the match. As the match goes on, Darby goes for the coffin trouble. Kyle O'Reilly is on the barricade. Kyle actually uses like the chain the chain he wears around his neck as a weapon, and I believe it was Excalibur. It might have been Tony that said that is the unbreakable chain that Darby carries, and then literally right after he says that, it breaks. It fucking breaks, man. But they continue on, and eventually Kyle hits a jumping knee from the top rope to get the 1-2-3. Overall, really, really good match. You could probably make the argument that this probably was better off being on Dynamite rather than being on the pay-per-view, but I still had a lot of fun watching this match. Next up was Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, and man, this match was fantastic. This is when the show started to go into second gear and really get good, man. This is when the show really got good to me, man. But yeah, this match was fantastic. We started out with the Colorado title, which is more or less them just like pushing each other around all over the ring, and then they just slipped out to the outside, and we were off the race. These two were going at it, throwing haymakers left and right. They eventually locked into like a figure 4, and then Serena started slapping Thunder, and then Thunder slapped her back, and they were slapping and slapping. They like rolled out to the outside of the ring while they were still connected to the figure 4. This is when Thunder Rosa's leg got a little injured, and where she was like started lipping it and started to sell it. These two kept going out. There were so many crazy moves. Like she also did like a Thunder did that move where you like wrap your foot around your opponent's foot and has your arm stretched across your chest and throw them down to the ground. And then she like transitioned that into the lapel lock, man. Fucking insane, man. But yes, we eventually end the match off with her hitting with the Thunder Driver to win the match, retain the championship. This was a fantastic match. There was a couple times where I'm like, yo, Serena, they're giving the belt to Serena, but yeah, man, this was a phenomenal match, and yeah, I would be down for a rematch, man. I would be down for a rematch if that is in the cards. But yeah, this match was fantastic, man. Seriously, definitely one of the best matches on the card. However, what was next was probably my favorite match of the card, and that was, of course, the Anarchy in the Arena match with the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Blackpool Combat Club. D. Bryan, John Moxley, and with Santana and Ortiz, of course, Eddie King. Jesus Christ, I'm not even gonna try and recap this match because there was too much goddamn insanity. You had everything. You had Eddie Kingston firing people with mustard. Blood was everywhere. You had like I think it was like D. Bryan using like this crane that had a camera attached to it and hitting Y2J with it. Y2J tried to run away with like a little bicycle or whatever. He had like these sunglasses on with one of the lenses missing, man. Eventually, you had Eddie and like one of the members of 2.0 going to like the fright elevator. Those two were together while Eddie's like profusely bleeding and like Jesus, there was so much fucking blood in this match, man. Cameras were getting thrown around and used, man. Everything in the goddamn book. You had Santana and Ortiz drop off these ludicrously high ladders into tables. which that was an insane spot as well. But obviously, then you had like around the end of the match with Eddie Kingston marching towards the ring while holding like a canister of gasoline with like a can of gasoline on him. Man, seriously, the image of the visual of Eddie Kingston covered in blood and God knows what else is on his fucking shirt while holding this like little like carton or whatever of gasoline and marching towards the ring and then unloading it all over all over Chris Jericho because of the eye thing. And he was just about to light him on fire, but then D. Bryan stops him. They start brawling, man. It was absolutely fucking batshit insanity, man. Seriously, it was absolute madness, bro. But eventually, Y2J gets the pin for the 1, 2, 3, and the Jericho preach. Oh, and you also had John Moxley straight up use this thing to take out the turnbuckles of the top rope off, man. Use that, and those got used as a weapon as he locked in the wall of Jericho with Jake Hager wrapping like one of the ropes around D. Bryan's neck, where he eventually just passes out. Although one thing I found kind of weird about this with the passing out thing is that D. Bryan's hands were still holding onto the rope when Aubrey Edwards like called that he was passed out because usually isn't it when you usually pass out you usually just like let go, his hands will just flop to the front, not still be holding it, I don't know, I thought that was a little, I mean eventually his hands did flop but like not until after Aubrey Edwards called for the bell. I don't know if any of y'all thought that was a little weird. I kind of thought that was a little iffy there, but that's just me and I'm probably just nitpicking. But yeah. We also had this little segment with Andrade El Idolo about like it's like this new guy's gonna be joining him. So you have that, and then of course we have the World Tag Team Title match between Team Taz, Jungle Express, and of course Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, aka the NXT guys. Seriously, I was just surprised when they got bigger tactics. I'm like, damn, you're really not trying to hide that these guys came from NXT. But the match was fantastic, man. Like you had so much shit going on there. Swerve reeks of style, man. So it's like you had him like launching off of Keith Lee's like stomach and like chest in like one part. You had Keith Lee and and a Powerhouse Hobbs jumping all over, like doing topes and shit, man. You had you had Ricky Starks get his nuts absolutely destroyed by the top rope up by I believe it was Jungle Boy, and just bruh, there was just so much other fucking insanity in this match, man, with like the topes and other stuff. Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs going at it. That was pretty cool to see. Not Powerhouse, Keith Lee and Luchasaurus going out was pretty cool. I remember telling you how cool Swerve looked throughout this entire match, man. Seriously, this match was fucking incredible, man. And yeah, eventually Jungle Express ends up retaining the championships, which I was just kind of surprised by. I was kind of hoping that Keith Lee and Swerve would get the titles, but Jungle Express keeps the championships in an overall phenomenal tag team match. Then, of course, we have the main event: CM Punk versus Hangman Adam Page. What a match, ladies and gentlemen. Seriously, this match was fucking incredible. You had these two going at it, man. You had Adam Page yeet Chris Jericho take over the table where the belt was. He grabs the belt, tell him like, "You will never get this. This is mine. You will never get this." And then there was just like, you had not John Mox, you had CM Punk going for the buckshot lair, which both times he failed to get it. I don't know if he just couldn't stick the landing or if that was just him selling the knee injury. But like both times he tried to do the buckshot, he could never get the landing quite right. It's definitely not as easy as it looks before, but he would still get the clothesline in. But he could never get that flip over the top rope that Adam does. Punk could never get. He could never stick the landing just right with that. But that could have been him just selling the knee. But yeah, that. Then you had Hangman going for the go to sleep. The ref eventually goes out because I was wondering like, yo, are we gonna have the ref go out? Because I had a feeling that the ref was gonna go out during this match, and I ended up being right. The ref did go out, which then of course Adam Page starts looking at the championship, and JR took the words out of my mouth here where he said like he was like in a trance, and he grabs the title. He's like wondering if he's going to use it and to defeat CM Punk. This actually kind of reminded me of something. I forget what match this was, but in Super Eye Patch as well as first wrestling video he did. He mentioned a match with a similar scenario where like there was a babyface that would like that could have used like a steel chair or whatever. I think it might have been with I think the match might have had Roddy Piper in it. Don't know for certain. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But he events the babyface ends up decide not to go with the chair, but he ends up losing the match anyway. This is reminding me a lot of that because of course Adam Page lost the match. Eventually, Punk finally gets the GTS in for the 1, 2, 3. Phenomenal match, man. Seriously, this match was absolutely incredible, and of course, the look on Punk's face when he became champion, man. You could see the emotions on his face, man, and bruh, this match was fucking incredible as well as the show, man. So many amazing matches. Had a hell of a time watching it, man, especially during the second half. That's when the show really got good, especially with the Anarchy in the Arena match. Jesus Christ, what the fuck did I watch, man? Seriously, everyone over there paychecks tonight, man, for that, man. But, yeah, man, this review's gone on long enough, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah. As always, my final verdict for AEW Double or Nothing 2022 is going to be a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So many, a lot of that comes from the fucking Anarchy in the Arena match because that shit was so fucking insane, man. I was like, bro, let's get to 10 just for this one match. That's one of the best matches AEW has ever had, man. Seriously. Love that match. And of course, the main event was fucking incredible, man. And CM Punk is world champion, and I couldn't be happier, man. But yeah, as always, guys, leave your thoughts down in the comments. You guys saw the show. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you guys are you guys happy that CM Punk was champion? Do you wish Adam Page stayed champion? Do you think Britt Baker deserved to win to the females Owen Hart tournament, or do you think it should have gone to Ruby? Leave it out down below in the comments, guys. And yeah, as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.